You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Marvel Comics Podcast, episode 73, maybe. I'm here with Matt. What up, Matt?
What up, what up?
What up? Here we are with our Spotlight. I forgot that we called it the Spotlight, mainly because I ended up thinking, well, we don't like a lot of the books, so it feels more like a Spotlight, but hey, here we go. Somebody ended up getting a hold of me. I wish I could remember who it was because I actually forgot to put the episode up. And the guy asked, hey, when's the episode coming up? I'm like, in about 5 minutes. And I went and put it up. The problem is, and just as a shout out, we do put it up early for the most part on the Patreon. And then I seem to forget sometimes. But,
because I see it on there, so I would never remind you.
And that's the thing. And then in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I put it up. Nah, I didn't. I should
join the Patreon.
I should, really. I should just schedule it when that happens, which I'll try to do from now on. Though, just as a shout out too, on the Apple or iTunes, whatever it is now, Apple Podcasts, the whole play of our deal, we do have a 1-star review, and it's kind of recent. Yeah, some jerk. End up because one time, and this is the whole play of the idea is one time for some reason, I think I talked to you about this, I ended up putting the Weird Dose of X up, right? Regular time, it goes up. For some reason, when it went up, it was cut off at a certain thing. It went 18 minutes and then done, just dead air. But that's impossible because of the way the deal is. But somehow, because of the way that the play that we go through, it just ended up doing something where there was dead air or whatnot. So that one episode, and legitimately, I was told about it about an hour or two afterwards and went and just put the same file. I didn't have to go and get anything else. It just something went wacky with it. It was corrupt or whatever. From there, put it up and it was fine. 1-star review because the juror, something that he said in this, like the powers that be can't even get an episode up. We have 700 episodes up in the one time. And the guy, and also, wouldn't it be one of those where you would go back then after it was fixed and then change it? What a jerk.
Yeah.
I was so mad. I see it all the time, too.
Makes it worse.
Yeah. I'm like, look at this. Oh, my goodness. The funny thing, though, is just to let this guy know, I don't really care. I used to check for new reviews. We used to ask for them. Whatever, bro. The guy said, I'm telling you, now I'm mad because I'm talking about it because I meant to mention it a while back. And this jerk off, saying that. Just think of that. What a jerk. See, I am mad now that I'm thinking of it.
You're not going to go engage him in there and ask him why he did it?
No, usually what happens is that at those points, I start sending emails to iTunes like, why can't you respond to these things? Or what I do at points, because I'm insane, I will say, okay, I'm going to get this guy's username here. First off, let's see if he uses, a lot of people use the same username. Oh, I found him on Twitter. Then I'll go and attack him. I won't attack him. I'll try to win him over. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Usually starting off, I'm like in comic books. You have to fight before you're friends. So I then start a fight and then I twist it around. I'm like the comic writers who, you lower the character and then bring them up to mid, same status quo and get praise.
And then you're the best writer ever.
Yep, that's what I do. But here we are. We have 2 books. I'm just trying to spice it up. We were talking a lot of Eagles before we got on because me and you both from the Philadelphia area.
Oh, yeah.
And our Eagles are in the Super Bowl again, and everybody can suck it. I ended up seeing also there, we need the Eagles in the Super. Nobody yelling about Kansas City. I'm
get
so
out of here
bored with them.
Yeah.
And also, seriously, people also, the Eagles, the refs are all, really? The Chiefs, I think that the Chiefs end up that first on their Christmas list are those freaking refs every game. But
how about this? It's the best Eagles team ever. That's why they're in the Super Bowl.
Take it on. And seriously, people, if you haven't watched the Eagles, they don't know what they're in for. The idea of how different the team is, and it gets infuriating sometimes watching them. But they have a wacky deal because legitimately, you do not see many teams that just run the ball and win anymore. It's a pass-oriented league, and it has been.
They
for
said
quite
running
some
was
time.
dead. That's what they're talking about.
This is the idea of a run team with a strong defense. It's like the Steelers of old, or the it's crazy. I don't want to say the Cowboys because I hate them, but it is kind of old school, but with a new school flair is what they have. But I already see people are already hating on the Eagles. They always do. So there you go. Suck it, all of you. But me and Wes, because Wes from Thinking Critical, he's from Kansas City originally. So me and him are probably going to duke it out with it. But with all of that, I think that the Eagles deserve a thing. I never thought they'd get to the Super Bowl this year, and they just got better and better, which is better than normally.
I felt good all year.
They found their identity.
They battled through the injuries and everything.
Yeah. In fact, they had an early bye, too. I thought that was going to screw them, but this isn't football talk. We're here to talk comics, unfortunately. And we're here. And again, I mentioned the Spotlight deal because we talked about it last week. We talk about it on videos at points, whatever. The idea that we are struggling to find it. I don't now. We could just say we'll review everything and kind of go quickly through things, what some people do. But I like to talk about books that we like. And I like to kind of deep dive. And some of the stuff at Marvel is just not readable. It really isn't.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's sad. And when we were talking before we started, we're even talking of like what we're reading and it's more what you're not reading. When anybody that I talk to Marvel, it's like they have more books they're not reading than what they're reading. And everybody wants to read more. It's just not great. So
I used to read everything and pretty much, and I've dropped 70%.
And the thing is, I will still end up reading most of the stuff by the weekend because I do some other shows and things like that. But even then, I try. I'm a dummy, and I'm not exactly professional, right? But and I'm not handsome. But the idea in that, I don't like to go on something and not know what I'm saying. People might laugh at that, but at least I think I know what I'm saying because I've read the things. I go on some of these things that I'm doing. I don't even read them. I tell them right away. Like, I don't like that. I don't like going on something and saying, I didn't read that because it's so ingrained in me, especially with the DC podcast where we used to talk about everything and it wasn't even a question. And it's tough, but we have 2 books tonight. And one we didn't talk about the first time it came out. We kind of skipped it, didn't we? I think.
We talked about it.
Yeah, okay, then we did talk about it. But the idea
not when it came out though.
No, and it is Hellhunters. I keep wanting to call it Hellverine because that came out last week.
Yeah, there's a Hellverine and a Hellhunters. Good point.
It throws me off. And speaking of which, again, the idea of people being into books and not into books, whatever. I don't know anybody who's into that Hellverine. And in fact, there was at one point, like Saturday, still wasn't even a review for it. And that's bad. That's bad. And Marvel has a bunch of books that aren't even
He looks cool.
reviewed.
That's a cool looking character. Be a cool action figure, maybe.
I didn't read this last issue. I read the first issue. It was okay. It's what I expect from Ben Percy. It's kind of middle of the road. It's not really exciting for me, but some people will probably like it. But again, you kind of get a lot of Wolverine. We get Wolverine in this book, and you can tell Wolverine sells. He's on the cover, and he just shows up in here, but it's Hellhunters #2. It is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Adam Gorham on art, colors by Frank Martin, and VC's Travis Lanham on letters. And the first issue of this, I thought, was a little slow. You ended up not doing much. It pretty much was like, hey, Ghost Rider 44. We're gonna show you how this happens. He ends up getting caught up in a tree and gets, basically, I love the idea, though, when you do have the Spirit of Vengeance, is like, hey, I got this thing. I got to go through it. I'll do it. Like, he didn't even wait. This Romero did not wait. He just wanted revenge. But again, that's the play. I mean, you're there in World War II. You're fighting the Nazis. You're fighting against all your, teammates, all your squad. They go down and you're dying. I guess you're just like, screw it.
What other option
I want
do
to
you
take
have,
these guys
basically,
off. Yeah, I want to take them off. Now, again, you could just die and maybe go to heaven. But that's the thing, too. I don't know the crap that Romero's been involved with. Like, it might be one of those, he's like, I ain't going to heaven anyway.
This is my only option.
He's like, I did a lot of bad stuff. But you end up where it was okay. I thought the play of it was, I didn't really need to have to get the origin of a Ghost Rider that showed up in the Hulk run that was protecting a kid on the res. Like, it's very specific when we got that deal. But this is okay. It's not horrible. It's not great. I don't think this is going to be one of those books that everybody's going to like, oh my God, you have to read it. But the problem is in this issue is I'm getting bored already. And I don't like that. That's like the worst thing that can happen because it's a lot of talking about doing stuff. It's a lot of them trying to, and it's not even just like the idea of, oh, we got to learn who these characters are. There's Nick Fury. There's Peggy Carter. There's Wolverine this. Now, I don't know the Soldier Supreme, but even that, like that should be really, really cool. But instead he just talks a lot. You know what I mean? Like
he's a big talker, this guy.
Yeah. And it's like always talking like, oh, well, this is against you and that's against you. But I knew there was two. And I'm like, I just get out there and start fighting zombie Nazis. Like you have a setup of really cool stuff and you're going to end up having Wolverine show up. Now, again, we will mention as well, me and you talked beforehand, the whole zombie, that's kind of getting old. It's
as generic as it comes.
Right? Yeah, it is. So when you have that, you have to step it up in another way. And I think that Philip Kennedy Johnson, where I think that, I know I do like him, and I think he seems like a really good guy and whatever, and his stories tend to drag. And he tends to focus on different things. He loves lore, so I'm worried at points, but also like he's telling us things, not showing us a bunch in this. And then when you do see the stuff, like I'll give you the biggest play here of what I think is a misplay. You end up having the most interesting thing about Soldier Supreme is that gun.
Yeah, so, that disgusting gun that he carries
disgusting
around.
gun. So at one point they're like, man, what's up with that gun? And he says, it's not a gun. It ends up translates my violent intentions into physical consequences.
Still a gun, dude.
And it's still a gun, dude. Like, and then when he shoots it, it's not that impressive. You know what I mean? He ends up shooting it. I'm like, I don't even know really, you end up where he shoots it and the weapons that they have get energized. I'm like, that wasn't the wow moment.
Why
of
be
that
shaped
gun.
like a gun with a sight on it and everything, or scope? What's the point of that?
It's so funny. I mean, I guess that's the joke. But in the meantime, where he says it makes my physical things, I'm waiting for and the guy, if you played him off as like this really calm guy, maybe like, oh man, like he's almost like a priest. And then all of a sudden, this gun erupts with the most violent stuff we've ever seen in our life and just wipes out a whole. That would be cool. Like the setup is that. I'm waiting. Like at that point, you're like, man, I'm waiting to see what this gun does, but it doesn't really do anything. It ends up shooting the one guy, and then he uses, Sorcerer Supreme stuff to energize stuff. It was really lackluster. It was, and that's kind of what the whole thing is. When you end up having this, and the art's pretty good, but when you do get Romero as the, Ghost Rider 40-foot, it's not that impressive.
I think that it's weird because I thought he was going to be the point of view character in this series, but now it's kind of shifted to Wolverine.
Yeah, it's Wolverine.
It's weird.
And so even at the point where they're yelling to him, hey, you gotta, charge up, flame up, dude. And he's like, I don't know how, I can't. Oh yeah, he's new. Like that's lessens things. And also, again, what the whole play was, people liked it in that, the Hulk deal. And on the covers, it looked awesome. You have a World War II American soldier on a Harley deal, old school. But when you get to it, you're like, yeah, he's just kind of the same. He doesn't look different, right?
Did he ever flame off in that?
No, I think he was always there.
So then why is he able to do it now?
Well, I guess because he learned. I guess it was just the time.
But wouldn't you want to be like your human form at some point?
Yeah, I guess know. Maybe he's like, maybe that's the curse. Maybe, I mean, the whole play of it. I don't know.
Why is he able to turn it on and off?
I don't think that they were ever going to be thinking there was a book, so you got to go with it.
Yeah, I would have went with him. He's always on fire.
Here's my play here, though, is they seem to want to have him non-flamed up at points to give him that, but I'd rather him flamed up all the time.
Yeah, he's flamed up and he's kind of a Ghost Rider, and that's it.
That's it. I don't need Romero, who then kind of looks a bit like
he looks like Fury, and it gets confusing. And
what ends up happening is, I said I'm not that impressed by Ghost Rider 44. He just looks like Ghost Rider went through a time machine and ended up in World War II. There's not much difference. So
yeah, even his skull is the same. A lot of times they'll switch
you could
that
say
up.
that some things are different, but the bike.
There's
just a
different.
old school
Harley.
I mean, and that's the thing. it's the Harley that everybody, if you're going to notice it, or it's the Harley that you always see Cap riding if you go back to World War II. So it's not that crazy. Now, in the meantime, when you do get Romero, you just made him generic. He's just a generic soldier then. And I don't get the play. But in the meantime, you have the Nazis, and they are all supernatural up. And it's that play against these two demons going against each other. That is what you end up having the Soldier Supreme realize and said, oh, man, I was told that there was this entity. I realized, and then all of a sudden there was two. It was you. Then he splits this thing. It was weird. I'm telling you, some of the things just did not really register well with me, and I got very, very bored.
Yep.
I checked the page count, and this is where when I have to check the page count, and I'm on page 8, and then I sigh to myself, then I know there's problems. If I check in at page 23, we have one more. That's more me thinking like, okay, I got to get going or whatever. But when you check it at 7,
yeah,
8,
for me it was I started nodding off a little bit. Then I was like, I looked at the cover. I'm like, where's Wolverine? He's got to be in here somewhere. And then I saw him, and it got a little more interesting.
Yeah, and he showed up. But I'll even tell you the idea of Peggy is just there.
Super generic.
Nick Fury's just like nothing.
Just a regular soldier.
You're not even getting any flavor.
He's not even
Nick.
like a leader in this.
And you're not getting any flavor of Peggy. So then you end up with the Soldier Supreme, and he is kind of boring. He talks too much. And even when he's in his little, meditation deal, it's just not that cool. And he's talking a lot of things. And then when you get Wolverine, you're like, all right, at least this picked up. I mean, it does pick up when Wolverine shows up. And it's kind of funny. Like, some people would be like, man, I'm sick of Wolverine. But no, he's
like over the top murdering people.
Wolverine, if this was, if he broke the fourth wall, he would say, okay, enough yapping. Let's start slashing, and just goes over.
He's not taking any prisoners.
No, and he's using swords, which is kind of...
It's like these, bayonet things with, I don't know,
it's
weird
like
knuckles.
Swords with this weird, knuckle deal that almost imitate the claws.
He's not using the claws. Maybe because he can't expose himself as a mutant, I'm guessing.
Yeah, maybe he's worried. I actually thought that he was going to by the end, and I'm sure he will eventually.
We don't want those dirty old bone claws anyway.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he's already Canadian. I mean, he's got that against him. And that's the thing, too. His whole battalion gets destroyed, and then that's when you end up having the Germans, the Nazis, end up realizing, okay, we need to get some numbers, so they're going to turn everybody that they end up fighting and killing all of Wolverine's battalion. So he's trying to mercy kill a lot of them as well. This one guy, the guy has nothing left of him, right? I mean,
what's
this
up
guy
with this
talking?
guy, dude? You don't even see that on Walking Dead. This guy's dead. Like, what is...
Shouldn't even have a heart.
He's not even half a man.
No, no. We have to change the deal. He's like a quarter of a man.
Quarter of a man.
And he's just like, well, how is he talking? Like, there's open area. Like, there's not. It's so weird. And then I'm thinking, well, he was this.
He's not a zombie.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't look like it at that point. So I'm like, what is happening here? Where he's like, hey, Logan, man, don't leave me back here. Like, leave you? Like, I see your spine completely ruined. Your everything's gone from your nipples down.
Yeah, nipples up.
I've never seen
nipples
anything
down,
like
gone,
this.
Yeah.
Where the guy, that's when you know that a book is too talky. When the guy nipples down gone has 7 word bubbles. There's no way. It's like, even if he was
he was going to keep talking, but Wolverine's like, enough of this, and just stabs
Wolverine
him.
says, done. Like, and really, Wolverine should have been like,
let's see how long this can go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy's like yakety yak.
I got to put this guy out of his misery.
The one that somebody would be, well, he was in shock. In shock. He's completely gone. I'm surprised. Like, afterwards, his ears laying there. That's talking. Like, he says, like, Logan, Buckner came out. Like, he's giving them information too. This guy's
questions.
Nothing. Yeah. And he's like, an old
waiting for answers.
Scaffold, a widow's fallen in the horse, dead
Who
horse,
even knows
in
what he's
chains.
talking
I'm
about?
like, what is he? Seriously, don't ever. Now, he is giving them the idea of what they saw in that first deal, but don't listen to that quarter man. This guy's not going to be thinking straight. He's got nothing left. He's like, you will. You send that Nazi beep to hell for me, Logan, okay? And Logan's like, well, and then he's probably, wait a minute, Logan, I'm not done. This reminds me, I always bring up The Simpsons. It reminds me of that old lady that Bart goes to do the lawn work and
gives her a quarter.
Ended up holding the grenade too long.
Yeah.
Like, this guy, it's laughable how much this guy's talking at this point. Holy moly, look at him. He's got that stare, though.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you didn't even have to put him out of his misery. I mean,
so what happens when Wolverine stabs him? He dissipates or something? What is that?
I guess he was like an undead, but it's still ridiculous. It's so, but again, you don't even get the look of it.
He doesn't even have lungs. How's he producing?
That's what I'm saying.
Air to talk.
It's so ridiculous. And then at the one, you do get, Ghost Rider. He's all fired up, and
he looks like a ninja. Ghost Rider,
and even some of the art, and then from behind,
samurai.
Yeah, this thing that he has, it looks like he's got like 2 ponytails that he's whipping around. But yeah, they're just there. And the big play then is that the other guys, and I swear it was the Canadians, but they're like, we got a lot of people coming. I swear the guy's like, you heard Normandy? D-Day it's called. They're coming, like all of a sudden these Nazis are like, they hear just, what? More people coming? All right, let's go to Normandy. I'm like,
I don't like this, man. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. You're taking something that was so historically important, just bastardizing it with this crap.
They're all going to be zombie.
They're fighting zombies now. It's bad enough what they have to deal with. They got to fight these things.
Tom Hanks is there. He's got a stake.
Do they need more odds stacked against them? What is this?
Again, you're going to get, and they're just going to turn all the D-Day Normandy invaders into zombies or. I don't even know what they are. I tell you, it was odd. Like the idea when they're like, "What?" I just love the guy who's motor mouth and like, yeah, you get it when they do D-Day. It's coming up, buddy. He's like, "Oh, let's go," because they need more people, so they just go to Normandy. Yeah,
I don't know, man. Weird.
Yeah, it is kind of odd play.
Yeah,
it's kind of an odd deal because
I don't like distasteful
you do then
or something.
Get it. I thought it was going to be like you'd have the regular battle and then these guys would swoop in. Nope, it's full out.
Or just a different battle, a smaller one. Like, why does it have to be this major one?
Yeah. Well, it's like the battle I fight every time I go to the buffet. The Battle of the Bulge is what they call it. But the Normandy deal is weird. It's very weird. But then at the end, if you did really want to get the pencils of Peter Parker on the side of the wall talking to Black Cat, you got that too at the end. Yeah. So that's a bonus. But what would you give this?
6.
Yeah, I'll go 6.
Yeah,
this is the thing. The Cap Wolf book by Stephanie Phillips, right? Mm-hmm. I liked it. You know why? Because you kind of, now, whether or not you kind of had the, let's have fun. We realize this is so ridiculous. We'll do some wacky stuff and have fun. Like you said, even going to Normandy feels like it's like trying to be too big.
But does this fit in the actual history, or is this some alternate thing? Like, what is this?
616. Now that'll be the deal from now on.
Cap was never fighting these freaking zombies.
Cap's there, and he's like, the worst thing that I ever saw was Normandy.
Because we get Bucky next.
Yeah,
issue,
I think that he's off doing Cap things. But there's Bucky, so we'll find out. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's trying to have fun, but it's not really that much fun. It's a lot of talk.
No, because the bad guys are as generic as it gets. Like I keep saying, it's just you can't get more generic than this. There's no leader. I mean, there is, but he's just. And then there's ones that fly around too. Like what are they doing? At one
point, you see the Ghost Rider, and he's got like barbed wire on him, and it's not that. It's not that crazy. It's not that great, but 6 for me as well.
Yeah, I mean, I could go lower, but I'll go with 6.
Yeah, we'll be positive.
Yeah,
we may not be talking. Another one, but I'm like, well, we may not be talking about this.
It just seems like guest star of the week is what we're going to get.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it has much of a. It seems like again what it is. It's almost like the play of, hey, let's do a mini series or based on a variant cover.
Well, that's another thing too.
That's all it is. It was a character that people seem to like, and
there's no frame of reference as to how many issues it is. Is it a mini? Is it?
Yeah,
does it
that's
depend on how it sells. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't think it'll sell great.
I like when they put 1 of 6, 2 of 6, 3 of 6. So I know what I'm dealing with.
2. Yeah, they don't do it. But we'll move on to the next book. It's Spider-Boy. We like Spider-Boy.
Yeah.
Spider-Boy number 15. It is written by Dan Slott, Paco Medina on art, Humberto Ramos and Edgar Delgado in the Spider-Girl origin art. I guess is the Humberto Ramos.
It's the backup stuff.
They do that weird,
the
how they
flashback.
play it off. They do it a weird way to put that. Colors by Eric Arciniega and VC's Joe Chiarmagna on letters, and you end up having the Kumite continuing. And you do see that, in fact, I mean, really what it plays out as, Daredevil might not have had to go because there's other people fighting in the tournament that are also trying to stop Bullseye. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Bengal is there and he's on the up and up and says, hey, it's a shame that one of us wasn't in the bracket with Bullseye. That's what they were kind of hoping for. But even at the end, Bengal's like, hey, good luck, please, stop this madman and do it. The problem is that the kid who's fighting Spider-Boy, another kid who's all riled up. And then you realize in this that if this book does continue, and we like it, but I don't think it's going to be issue 200. But you are setting up a rogues gallery in here. You're setting up a bunch
so
of
many
people.
Characters.
You're setting up a bunch of characters that could come back and fight.
They're interesting too.
Yeah, and they could fight Spider-Boy, or they could end up becoming friends with Spider. Maybe Spider-Boy finds out later, oh my God, I got to go help him, or I got to do this. Tigress, I guess it's the deal.
It's weird. I thought that it's a boy, right?
I thought, but it might not be. Yeah, I thought it was though. That's why I didn't want to say anything. But so the whole play though is when Bailey just wants to know, well, what do you win? He doesn't know, and he's like, I want to win. What do we win if we win? Whatever. And really, all it's been up to now is Daredevil saying, we just don't want.
Yeah, everybody's like, we just don't want Bullseye to win. I don't really care. I just don't want him to win.
Yeah, and Bailey just wants to know, and you do find out later that it is those warriors. The whole deal of who's running the tournament, you kind of become head of them. So this tournament really is just like a voting thing, not a voting thing, but it's, hey, every year we change up the leadership and whatnot, which is weird because then you would assume that you'd allow the person who's leading it right now to actually enter the tournament as well to kind of keep the deal. But maybe that's how they keep it, fresh, where they do that. They have a 1-year term limit here, but the fight's fine. And you end up where Bailey gets pissed at one point and just ends up, all right, I'm taking it down. And that's the thing. Bailey has powers. A lot of these characters that are fighting are just fighters, don't necessarily
martial artist or whatever.
So he hasn't been using it. And when, Matt says, use your powers, and he's like, it's not really fair, but okay. And he does end up, and he yells, everything about this bites, and then he punches.
He doesn't really bite anybody or anything.
No,
he just kind of punches
and that's the thing. Yeah, he just punches them and punches them out. Got some dog tags there. And again, this was the opposite of the Bruce Lee, Game of Death duo, where remember the dad was like, "You shamed our family forever." Yes. This was more Bengal's like, "You did good. You did pretty good. There's no shame." Whatever. But he's mad. Like I think again. He's competitive. Tigress is competitive, wanted to win. And now that kind of is I'm going to get you, Spider-Boy, down the line. And the fun play of it for me is that it is setting up potential villains for Bailey, but it's not his fault. He doesn't even want to be here. He's doing this fight just because he messed up. Because
he said he'd rather be doing his homework.
Before. Yeah, that's the worst. And so it could be setting these things up, but it isn't like he's a bad kid. They're just mad because he's winning and stuff like that. Now, I'm telling you, by this point, and I know that people get driven nuts with younger characters that are kind of this or that, or, a Hulkette. I love her. I think she's the funniest. I think, and she doesn't even really do that much in this, but I just kind of like her.
She just talks crap.
Yeah, she talks crap. And so does, Spider-Girl. Yeah. And again, when people yell about Spider-Girl, she's not really Spider-Girl.
She's like Mimic Girl or something.
Mess
copy
with Bailey
girl.
Because we find out in this issue, one of the big things is because she can grab and get powers. It got wonky. At one point, we thought she was like Taskmaster, that she could look at something and learn it. She can, but it's more of absorbing powers. But when she does that to martial artists, it's weird because that's more of what we thought it was, right? But that's the problem is she can't get the Spider-Boy stuff out of her head. Like this is something that usually goes away, and it hasn't. That's why she's pissed. So you do get that.
And isn't she a mutant? Is she a mutant? I can't remember.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. So she's basically the most powerful mutant. I don't know.
Yeah, because and I like the idea that even if she was a mutant, but it was the mutant power of seeing things to be able to do it, that was fine with me. Mm-hmm. When you start getting powers, that seemed added on.
She had like Miss Marvel's powers.
Because Dan Slott needed to have, I need her to have a reason to be mad at Bailey. And it's because she's like, I have stupid memories. And Bailey doesn't quite know that fully. But Even at the point before, she ended up going by what was her name before. It was that crazy name. I actually liked her costume. Funhouse.
Yeah, Funhouse
was her name before.
Yeah, Funhouse is cool.
Yeah, I thought and I would guess maybe, I don't know, because Spider-Girl does give you the oomph, even though people get driven mad by it. But I'd like Funhouse. I like that costume.
I still get. It just seems like a DC villain to me. I don't know, Funhouse, but.
Yeah, it does. It also seems
Dan
like it'd
Slott's
be.
probably laughing.
I'm telling you,
he's like,
Funhouse to me sounds like it would be I'll upset people. A bald, big, fat guy who was like just like this weird, almost like the Blob. It would be Funhouse. He'd run around. But Bailey actually like tries to yell, "Are you okay?" Like actually wants to help her because he's a good guy. And this is in the flashbacks, but this is the play. It continues with the idea that she trusts Bullseye. Says Bullseye's my only friend. He will never betray me. He has my back. You all think it's good, bad. He's good. He's good. And she seems to and he even says, and here's the thing. In this issue, and it kind of sucks, because in this issue, I wouldn't mind Bullseye just having this weird soft spot for Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
The idea of like people treated her like crap, and it reminded me of something like that everybody thinks it's going to be a dupe. And oh my God, he's still awful. Right? He'll still kill people, but he's actually, kind of become her father figure or whatever. It's not that. But Dan Slott does a good job with it. It's weird because they end up you have to hand in your weapons because you can't use weapons in the fight. So I love the idea. I mean, is it that Bullseye's just being a jerk kind of deal? Because he can make anything into a weapon.
The stuff he's wearing is a weapon.
Deck of cards. Yeah. And he's like, here you go. I thought that was also a dupe. Like, the card. Oh, yeah.
Are the deck of cards, is that Bullseye's thing or is that? I thought that was more Gambit's
That's more Gambit. I've seen him pick up cards a lot and use them. But the thing is, it's like anything's a weapon.
Doesn't matter.
I thought it was that he was like, okay, I'm going to pretend this. And then but he does. He uses even blood. He uses the
which is crazy. It would work actually.
Yeah, he ends up saying blood in your eye too. Made me laugh. But the big thing then is, hey, we got to get to this finals. We're going to end up fighting these things, and says, we're going to, to the death. And she just does not think that he's bad. And these girls go down. They go. That's Chun-Li goes down. Really
it is Chun-Li.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of the fun of it. And you do end up throughout, like, it's bad because you do have Bailey kind of rooting for. He's such a good kid. And on the meantime, Spider-Girl's scrolling with Bailey. You got it. And he's like, I'm not doing great, whatever. And now Bullseye realizes what's going on, the mind games that she's using. But she ends up being able to look into the gaping maw is what this ninjas are, and she's able to get this ninja fight.
She's like, hey, what's the big deal with these guys? Let's see. And then she just mimics their powers.
And that's the thing. Bailey at that point finds out then whoever wins the tournament gets to take the gaping maw there in control. And Bailey says, it's just a couple of ninjas. What the hell's up with that? And then when she's able to take the powers of one and just completely obliterate this deal, then they say, see, that's one. I thought they were going to say there's like 500, but there's like 13. Mm-hmm. There wasn't as many as I thought. But and so Bailey's like, oh, man, that sucks. So, we have to stop. I thought that it was enough. Or they have 32. Still didn't seem like too many. But the idea, I kind of thought Bailey was just going to be like, well, I like to win. And that's fine. But he does go over and grabs these rings of Spider-Girl. Again, maybe a little forced, but it plays with his power set that if he touches things, he can see the future, he can see what's going to go on, not full, but he sees, and he sees that
possibility.
Bullseye is going to, stab her in the back and literally pull a card out from his sleeve. Like, I got nothing, no cards.
Yeah.
He's going to pull that out and
I guess
get
they
it right
didn't
in the
do
back.
a cavity search on
Yeah,
him.
no. The gaping maw, that they already have that name. It sounds like they should, but so when he does this, he sees that he's not even just going to be mean, because I expected it would be, all right, I won the contest. I don't need you, girl. No, he's going to kill her. He's going to like straight up kill her. And so you end up Bailey desperately like, listen, you got to stop. He's going to do this. He's going to end up, which then ends up, because the big fight's going to be, what we knew from the beginning. Bullseye, Spider-Girl versus Spider-Boy and Daredevil. But Bailey right away, he's distracted. He's worried so much about Spider-Girl that he's not paying attention. But in the meantime, you do get for a second, and this is the worst. You go back to Bailey's mom. Mm-hmm. Bailey's mom, who was a cat person.
Cat's following her around.
And now has the cat that can understand her. You then have Christina, who thinks that she can talk to pigeons. Nobody wants to do that. And she's like, oh, I must not have been, enough of a pigeon for long enough.
Yeah, not long
animals, which drove me nuts. So when they're talking, like, oh,
a little bit of a rocky start on that arc, but it established these characters.
It's better now. Cool. So you have it, and it's good they're doing it. The worst, though, is that this mom, before she remembered Bailey, had Boy Spider was just her thing.
Yeah,
oh my
she
God,
just abandoned him.
And I told you she did, and I was joking. She abandoned Boy Spider, who, if you don't know or read the book, it's a kid who's more spider than boy, the opposite of Bailey. He ended up being made this way.
He means well, though.
Yeah, again, it's just a monster that wants its mom. And you see, even Christina's like, did you ever think of going back to the farm to visit? And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of busy. I kind of thought, I'm like, what a bitch.
Yeah.
I was so angry at her. And then when you see Boy Spider, it's like, you are evil. Boy Spider is just like, he's just a little kid.
The crazy part is, if you look at him, he's wearing a shirt now.
Yeah, I know. He's got like a gym
t-shirt on.
And he got his, the thing underneath. But yeah, he's got his big legs in the back. He's a monstrosity. But she says, I'm the only family my son has. He needs me. At one point, we were joking that Boy Spider was going to come and live with them. Or she just bailed.
At least keep him in the attic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, hell if I know. He's probably just hanging, wondering where everybody is. Right? You end up where you have no mama, mine. We're a family. I'm like, oh, here we go. And I don't want Boy Spider to be a villain in this book because he's not. He doesn't deserve it. He is a victim and ended up where this woman was with him nonstop telling Bailey to get the hell out.
Yeah, like, I already have a son and all this stuff.
Yeah, it was the big, it's a weird play. But then we go back and we do end up seeing, I do like at this point where they're on to Spider-Girl. So they have the Gaping Mall Ninjas all look at the wall. Like, you could give, like, maybe put bandana. I don't know.
Just you have to cover their eyes. That's all.
Yeah. At one point, she ends up, because the big play here is the switcheroo. You end up, Spider-Girl's going to fight Daredevil, and Bullseye's going to go and fight
kind
Bailey,
of unfair,
which is unfair, but also is something I think Matt changes immediately for real. Would just be like, no, and would go over and start going after Bullseye. And then Bullseye even says, hey, listen, I'm pretty sure that you're not allowed to fight A-listers like me, and I'm about as A as there is, and I'm going to kill you. And Bailey's like, oh, crap. And then you have Spider-Girl, who actually did beat Daredevil at one point. He ends up being able to not have her take the powers and read her mind, the deal, because he's blind, I guess it seems to be, where she's like, aren't you looking at me? And he's like, maybe. He has a weird look. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're going to fight. And you end up where Bailey then is worried, because every time that Spider-Girl turns her back to Bullseye, Bailey thinks he's going to pull the card out and kill her. So he's running over to her. Don't turn your back to him. Don't turn your back. Bullseye's like, I need a weapon, and ends up ripping off his backpack, which does cause, some blood and stuff. Bailey is beat up.
Beats the crap out of him, dude. Look at him.
He starts hitting him over the head.
Chalk, yeah.
This thing is a hard shell backpack. It's like one of those like actual camping backpack things. This thing is not soft. And he is getting destroyed.
Yeah.
At the point where normally, if this was just Bullseye and it was just a rando, that person would be dead. There's no way. There's blood, and he's going, and they yell.
Bailey is getting pretty severely beaten up here.
Yeah,
so.
And so by the end, what happens then is Matt gives up. Matt yields, because, this is going to be the deal. He's going to die right now, and so he says, I yield. And they said, the match is ended, Bullseye, Spider-Girl, the day is yours. And Bullseye's, yeah, I think this is all a dupe anyway. I think that this is all set up by Matt. And it was probably, I'm telling you, I don't think Bengal is gone either. I think that we'll see a bunch of things happen.
Yeah, like a 10-on-1 or something.
Yeah, I think that a lot of things.
Melee.
But again, remember what happens then is, it was funny because Hulkette She wanted to get involved, and she wanted to get the gaping maw on her side to go get Bailey, but said, when this is over, it's going to be a Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's going to start going after Bailey, and Matt's going to do this, and we're going to have to fight the gaping maw as well. And again, one of the things that we saw was that Spider-Girl was able to take the abilities of the gaping maw. That's a setup for when Bullseye goes against her, and then she'll be able to fight back by doing that.
I wanted to ask you something about the flashback with her where she took Spider-Boy's powers. All of a sudden, she's shooting webs around.
Yeah, it was weird.
What was up with that? Because he can't do that.
That was probably it's weird to say it's
I think it was an art thing?
The person who created him, but that's the thing. When he's doing it, Bullseye even like, man, that's all. Like, it was weird. I think that maybe they ran into a problem of what do we do to show it has power, but that's not the powers.
He doesn't have that.
Here's the thing, too. If you go with the idea, and she says, like, she can't get rid of the things, whatever, she should have that precog thing that probably would show her, and maybe that will save her life, that she'll grab something of Bullseye's and see, or something, whatever, of thing, and see that, this is going to happen, because, again, you do have a setup, and Dan Slott usually will set some things up so you kind of get to the next phase and go, okay, I get it. That's what he was doing there. So I still liked it.
Do the powers fade, or does she collect them?
They fade, she said, but for some reason, Bailey's memories at least are still there. It's weird. It's a gray area, but
no,
I think
it's
fade.
Good questions because we can learn about it more later, I guess.
Yeah. So
I don't need all the answers now.
Yeah, we'll see the deal. But the web thing was off. I'm glad you brought that up because I thought the same thing. I'm like, that doesn't.
And
make
then
sense.
Another cool thing too was Pei. Remember Pei, the Iron Fist? She's in the background here.
Yep, she's in there. I again, somebody that people got nuts about.
Yeah.
I liked her.
I like that run.
I thought she was cool.
That was Kari Andrews, I think.
I always like. I like younger characters. I don't care if she's called Hulkette. I don't care if it's Spider. I always like it because they end up. You're learning things, and you end up learning on the job. They're always hopeful. They're not miserable for the most part. So I tend to like them more. But even when they are like murderous, like Honey Badger, Gabby.
Honey Badger's one of the best characters
Gabby
ever.
became such a drawing line in the sand of what people would say you are and aren't or whatever. I loved her. I loved her from the beginning.
When she's Honey Badger, not Scout.
Yeah. I kind of like her just as Gabby, but I don't mind Honey Badger. When they have the badge, it's so cool, but don't really get her much in anything I'll read lately.
She would fit perfectly into this.
Yeah, it'd be cool. She'd be like an old hat. Like she'd be like the old Salt, giving out the advice, but yeah. We probably pissed some people off by liking Gabby. But what would you give this?
8.5 for me. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm an 8.
Yeah.
It's just,
so good.
Again, once you brought up the webs and some of the things going, it's like, but I will say, it is the same kind of thing. It's a tournament, and you kind of, but I'm not bored with it. I actually like it, and I want to see, I'm telling you, Hulkette is just hanging.
She's hanging
just
in the background.
Waiting, just waiting. One of the funniest things I've read in a long, long time was that issue or two ago, where Bailey was talking to his mom on the phone, and then like, "Hey, who's that green girl?" And she's just there drinking like a latte. And then his mom, like, I think that also is a setup too, because when Bullseye goes bad, you're gonna feel what is Spider-Girl gonna do now? Maybe a setup with Boy Spider. There might be a lot of things in play here of how they'll get things in a family and things going, and maybe she'll hang out at the farm. I don't know, but I am worried about her because she doesn't have anybody, it seems. So
yeah, I mean, like Hulkette's like in that Simpsons episode again where they're fighting the Yakuza on the front yard, and Homer's like, he's gonna do something. He's gonna do something. He's gonna do something.
Yeah, that's basically it. I kind of.
You never know what she's gonna do.
I like she calls him Bug. It's like, just remember, Bug, the second you lose one of these fights, the gaping maw won't be there to protect you, and I will. And he's like, yeah, punch me in the moon, whatever. And he walks away. Yeah, again, that's kind of the funny play, too, is if you lose, you don't get any protection. I won't even say what that reminds me of because people get mad. But with all that, there you go. That is the show. Check out Spider-Boy if you haven't. It's just fun. Don't go into it thinking it's going to blow your mind. It's just fun. And I see a lot of people talking about how comics are this now and that's this. And it doesn't have any of that. It's just a fun comic, and still people will find something to yell about because Dan Slott's a jerk. But I've said this to a bunch of people. I'll say it here. The stuff that goes on now that people get canceled or people end up, you don't want to deal with them. Yelling at people on Twitter is hardly quite what some of these other people are doing. You know what I mean? The guy is a curmudgeon. He's not, I wouldn't even say he's not nice. He has thin skin. And then since that, people do trigger him constantly and he gets upset. He's like me. Maybe that's what I'm like. I'm a combo of Rob Liefeld and Dan Slott. I get fired up and I get so mad, but he just
the thing about him is he loves comic books. He always has. This is a well-written story, well plotted, well drawn, well executed. I mean, it's great.
I'm sure, and Dan Slott probably dream job, right? Writing comics.
Yeah, it is.
So then he gets you. Just anybody think of your dream job. Think that whatever it is, football player, either European or American or hockey, not even a singer, and you get that job, and it's the greatest thing ever. And then suddenly everybody is shitting on you for ruining things. And you did this and that. You're going to be upset. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he should do what he does because he should just quit Twitter, never be seen again, and nobody would care. You're done. If he wasn't on social media, nobody would know him. Like I'm telling you, there are writers out there right now I don't know anything about because they're not around or whatever. They might be the biggest jerks that we've ever met, but you don't know. He's at least on Front Street with it, and he gets mad. He blocked me. I'm not saying it because I think the guy's great. I think that he kind of should back off a bit because, again, people who pay for things, they have the final say of buying stuff, but still, people do trigger him. And then it gets to the point where I see some people, it gets close to being bullying him, and that's not right either. Both sides are not right. Everybody has to shake hands. But at this point, too, we're at a point with comics where it's not great and it's tough to find fans. And when fans get involved, I'm like, oh, man, I love this Spider-Boy. This writer, what's up with him? Oh, he's a jerk. He does that. It's just why? That's not fun.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to take my own advice.
There you go.
Twitter. Now, actually, I'll just start tweeting dirty songs all the time, and it'll drive Eric nuts. He'll send me DMs not to do it.
Cease and desist.
He's like, and I'll say, I'll stop when you stop that nonsense that goes on in the podcast. You completely. I feel like I'm in prison. I feel like I don't even know.
You're a prisoner on your own podcast.
Yeah. So there you go. We don't have that nonsense here.
No.
So, but we do. I do have a Spider-Boy song from way back, but we will not play it. Actually talks about how we like Spider-Boy, but people hate Dan Slott, so I thought it would be canceled early. So with that, maybe I'll dig that up somewhere.
Yeah, bring it out.
Yes, but that's it. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week with a couple books, I'm sure. That's how it goes. But thanks, Matt, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.